Paul says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling in singleness of your heart, as unto Christ, not with eye service, as men pleasers, but as the servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will, doing service, here it is, as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord, whether he be bond or free. Ladies and gentlemen, from those few verses and with the whole chapter in our minds, I want to continue in this series, and I want you to tell someone around you, go with the flow. Go with the flow. Thank you. You may be seated. Tell somebody else on your way down, go with the flow. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to declare something to you that you may or may not be aware of. And that is, wherever you are in this season of your life, you are there on assignment. Tell somebody around you, I'm on assignment. I'm on assignment. See, if you're in school, you're on assignment. If you have a job, you're there on assignment. If you're married, if you have children, even if you're single, in your singleness, wherever you are in this season of your life, you are there on divine assignment. The unfortunate thing with some people is that we are very casual and cavalier when it comes to the path our life is taking. Again, I say we're very casual, we're very laid back, we're very cavalier. In other words, our generation has a bad habit of saying whatever happens, happens. Talk back to me if you can. It is what it is. You only live once, so do all you can while you can. Well, the problem with that mentality is that if everything is just whatever, then whatever is what you're going to end up with. That means any old relationship, any old friends, any old job, any old attitude. If that's your mindset, you're going to miss your blessings because you have settled for a spirit of whatever. Y'all with me this morning? Understand that God said to us, and he said it to us last Thursday, he says, I know the plans that I have for you. That's what God told the people through Jeremiah. He said, I got plans for your life, and I know what that plan is. It's thoughts of peace and not of evil, and I will give you an expected end. So what that means is none of us are here by chance. Nothing in your life is coincidence. So wherever you find yourself at this moment, you are not there by accident. You're there on assignment. One more time, tell somebody, I'm on assignment. I'm on assignment. See, this series is entitled Go With the Flow. It's an acronym for following leadership and obeying the word. Because if God is a God of order, if God is a God of organization, if God is a God of standards and rules, part of our assignment is to learn how to submit. You may not believe this. And I know the word submission just bothers some of y'all because we don't like order. We don't like authority. Many of y'all left home to get away from authority. But understand that part of God's order started when you were first born. From the moment you were born, you learned how to follow orders. That's why verse 1 says, children, obey your parents in the Lord. Why? For this is right. I asked you to keep your Bibles open. The parents' number one job is to teach your children order. Understand, order is dictated by the position that God gave you as a parent. They were born into your household. They're being raised under your roof. They're sleeping in your bed, eating at your table. So from the moment these cute little people get here, we got to start teaching them about order. Look at verse 1 again. Children, that's your position. Obey your parents, that's their position. Honor your father and your mother. Those are positions. Why? So that it may be well with you and your days won't be cut short. That's why every now and then the parent has to remind you, keep on here. Wish I had some help in here. You cutting your days short. You're cutting your lifespan short. The Bible promises that if you honor your mother and your father, your days will be long because you're honoring their position. I'm talking about respect. I'm talking about rules. I'm talking about order. That's why it does not matter how much you give a child by the way of stuff and things. More important than the gifts you buy them, more important than the clothes you put on them, more important than even love and affection. A child must learn how to submit to authority. Wish I had a witness in here. Bedtime, that's about order. Curfew, that's order. Allowance, that's about respect. School, education, from the moment you get here, you're being taught how to respect God's rules through your parents. And guess what, grown folks? The rules ain't just for children. Parents have to submit themselves to the Lord. He says, fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. How can a parent do that? By not leading your family in the way they should go. Hear me when I tell you, Daddy, absenteeism is what brings about wrath in your children. Because if you are not there, the logic in the child says he must not care. Don't nobody care about your check. Don't nobody care about you calling on special occasions. No, the child's logic is if you ain't there, you must not care. So the only way you can bring them up in the nurturing and the admonition of the Lord, you can't do that with presence. They need your presence. God, I'm preaching already. I wish somebody would help me here. I say they don't need your presence. They need your presence. They need you to be there. Even if you and mama didn't work out, you better work out a way to be there for your children. You better work out a way to make sure they see your face. You better work out a way. What you mean she won't let me? The devil is a liar. You are just as much daddy as she is mama. You better find a way to get to that school. Find a way to get to them. Find a way to be there for them. It ain't about you and mama. It's about you and the Lord. You've been learning about order from the beginning. And hear me now, because I'm going somewhere. It's going to be a good sermon if you let it be good. If you learn about submission as a child, chances are you will be a much more productive member of society. I tell people all the time, if you don't raise your children, the system will do it for you. I wish I had some help in here. If you don't teach them rules, if you don't teach them discipline, there is a penitentiary that will be glad to do it for you. Yeah, the penal system is, understand, a multi-billion-dollar industry in these United States, and it is built just for people who don't respect order. It starts early with school resource officers. Then it moves up to the police at your middle school. Then it's child welfare. Then it's child services. Then before you know it, they diagnosing your little boy with ADD, ADHD, Ritalin, Prozac, and whatever else they decide to come up with because you did not give them what they should have had. It is not the teacher's job to raise your children. It is not Leon County's job to discipline your children. Don't be mad at the police for doing their job. Don't be mad at teachers for having order. You as a parent better whoop that behind before they get on the bus so they learn how to say yes yes ma'am and no sir. So they learn how to respect themselves. Get it at the house or you gonna get it at the jailhouse. Verse 5, he says, servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh. I taught it to the first crowd. I told them that when they taught this lesson to our ancestors, they used it as a justification for slavery, meaning that you had to obey them no matter how bad they treated you, that you were a slave and you were less than a person. No, this text is written to people who went into covenant and agreed on a wage. So what he's saying is, if you have signed a contract with a job, if you have enrolled in a school, if you have gone into covenant with anybody, you got to learn how to submit to their authority. 4 points I want to make, and then I'm going to watch the game. I lost a bunch of money yesterday, even though I didn't bet nothing. Y'all ain't going to heaven. Let's stay in the Bible. Listen. Point number 1. All leadership is God ordained. That's point number 1. Do what you got to do to remember it. I said all leadership is God ordained. Get Romans 13:1 if you can. They're going to put it on the screen in a minute. Romans 13:1 says, let every soul be subject unto who? The higher powers. For there is no power but of God, and the powers that be are ordained by God. But this is what I didn't read at the first service. Keep reading verse number 2. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, whoever resisteth the authority, resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to who? To themselves damnation. It does not matter which leader you speak of. It don't even matter how you feel about them personally. It is inconsequential to the words of this text. It says all powers. Whether you think they are worthy powers or wicked powers, all of them are ordained by God, even if they don't act like it. I'm messing with your mind right now. Even when Hitler was ordained by God. Did he obey God? Did he follow God? No. But every power, whether they be worthy powers or wicked powers, are ordained by God. Why is that important? Because many of you fail to realize that God honors positions, not people. Your college professor is ordained by God to be in that position. Your pastor is ordained by God to be in this position. Your college president, your athletic director, your choir director, your principal, your head usher, the manager on your job, the shift manager, supervisor at your office, the office manager, the lunch lady in the cafeteria, all of them are ordained by God. Oh, it's going to get tighter here in a minute. Because anybody that's in authority, you got to recognize that God put them there. Point number 2, if you disrespect those in authority, you bring damnation to yourself. See, I can see if I was making this up, then I could understand the look on your face. This thing ain't personal. It's in the book. If you disrespect authority, you bring damnation to yourself. The Bible says if you resist them, if you resist their orders, you're not doing it to them, you're doing it to God. Dr. Brown, let me tell you about my school teacher experience. I taught elementary school for a number of years, and as a rookie teacher, the seasoned teachers tried to bring me in on a coup against the principal because they didn't like her. They didn't like her way. They didn't like her rules. They didn't like her standards. They didn't like her expectation. So they said, Simmons, you know, every teacher called each other by the last name, Simmons, we having a meeting in Jones's classroom at 3:30. And we want you to come to the meeting. So me, I'm a rookie, I come to the meeting. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing how these teachers are plotting to get the principal fired. We gonna call downtown and tell them what she doing. We gonna leave messages down there, and if enough of us call, we can get her out of here. I went to my principal. Because she was the one that hired me, gave this young boy an opportunity, so I was not about to turn my back on her. I snitched. And I said, Sister Brownie, I am praying for you. I'm praying with you. And just know that whatever happens, I got your back. I see some of you mad at me. Now you're doing, you be snitching. No, when you make up your mind to try to undermine people, ain't nobody got to be in that meeting with you. Ain't nobody got to jump on that bandwagon with you, because you on your way to hell. Well, Pastor, what if the authority figure is telling me to do something wrong? Some of you have been there. You know, you feel pressure to stay in these situations because it's your livelihood or it's your connection, but those leadership figures are telling you, commanding you, telling you to do something wrong. The short answer is you need to follow God and not follow man. I can't get too deep into it. You need to buy the DVD from 7:30 service. But the short answer is follow God. Because if they're asking you to compromise your Christianity, you better go with Jesus and let God handle the rest. I do not have to sleep my way to the top. I will not compromise. You do not have to bend or bend over to get a position. You do not have to scheme to get ahead. You do not have to plot to get something in life. You don't have to steal to get a status. What God has for me is for me, and I don't have to sell my soul to get ahead. There ain't no job where you're gonna be happy to be there every day. Not one job. There is no job where you're gonna be happy every Monday morning. Lord, I can't wait to go to work. But if you know who it is you work for, if you know who got you there, if you know who got you in that position, you'll respect a person's title even if you don't like their tendencies. Point number 3, don't forget who you work for. The last 3 words in verse 5 says, as unto Christ. In other words, I may work under a whole lot of folks, but I only work for one person, and his name is Jesus. You have served at a whole lot of jobs. You only work under those people. I've served under a lot of pastors. I only work under them. But please understand, wherever you are, wherever you go, you work for Jesus Christ. Have I got a witness here? If you don't take anything else from this message, you need to remember there's a difference between your leader and your Lord. That person may be your leader, but they are not your Lord. That person may be your supervisor, but they are not your savior. They may be your manager, but they are not your master. He says, as unto Christ. That means that when you submit to them, it's really not about them. You're submitting to Jesus Christ. When you get a chance, you need to read up on David and Saul. Google it when you get a chance. Read up on David and Saul, because David was a servant in Saul's kingdom. And it got to a point, man, where Saul told him to go out there and do what he was supposed to do. And David did exactly what Saul wanted him to do. But when the women came back, singing, Saul has killed his thousands, but old David killed his 10,000. See, when the women start singing your name, you better be careful, because some trouble getting ready to come. Saul got jealous of David. Saul literally tried to kill David. But how many of y'all know that when David had a chance to kill Saul, he never took him out? Because in spite of Saul's indignance, Saul was still God's anointed. That means that I'm going to do my job and get out of here. And I ain't going to take you out even though you need to be taken out, because you are anointed, and I don't believe in touching God's anointed. There's one more point I want to leave you with. And that is, everything you do for God, do it with your whole heart. Have I got a witness here? Everything you do on your assignment, do it to please God and do it with your whole heart. If you got a project to do, do it with your whole heart. If you got a song to sing, sing it like it's your last time. If you playing an instrument, do it with your whole heart. If you got a report to write, write it with your whole heart. If you want to help somebody, do it from your heart. If you're going to do outreach in your community, do it from your heart, because people can tell when you don't really care. People can tell when you slop stuff together. People can tell when you do stuff at the last minute. People can tell when stuff is raggedy. You got to do it from your heart, because that's the only thing God will honor. I don't know about y'all, but I made up in my mind, Lord, deliver me from half-hearted people. I may be by myself on this, but I'm finna close this message here. If your heart ain't in it, do all of us a favor and please just walk away. You ain't doing nobody no favor by showing up doing something with a half heart. You ain't got to front like you care. You ain't even got to smile at me, flashing me no fake smile like you like. No. You ain't got to do nothing for me out of obligation. If your heart ain't in it, you are welcome to walk away. I need some folk that can pray for me with your whole heart. I need some folk that can intercede for me with your whole heart. I wish I had some help here. I need some folk that can lift me up. I need some folk that can hold me accountable. Whatever you do to serve, do it with your whole heart. That's why I can treat people better than they treat me, because it's in my heart. Y'all will help me close this, won't you? That's why you don't have to go tit for tat and do evil for evil with people, because your heart is better than that. That's why I haven't walked away and flashed some folk the finger on my way out, because I have learned that my heart has got to be better than that. I wish I had some help here. I believe I got some people that would have gave up a long time ago if that thing wasn't in your heart. You would have walked away a long time ago if that thing wasn't in your heart. You would have been dropped out of school. You would have been quit that job. You would have been filed for divorce. You would have been giving up on your children. Talk to me here. You would have been giving up hope. You would have stopped coming to church. You would have been out of there, because you stayed in the will of God and you understood that is in my heart. It's in my heart to serve him. And I don't know about you, but it's in my heart to worship God. I don't care what's going on in my life. It's in my heart to come to church. That's why I don't understand when people say I ain't been to church in a while, because I'm going through something. Seem to me like if you're going through something, church is the first place you ought to come. It seems like if you're having a hard time, then church ought to be the first place that you come. Because church is where prayer happens. Church is where fellowship happens. Prayer happens amongst the saints of the Most High God. And so because I know that God is in this place, then I'll never make it my business to stay away, because the church is in my heart. Is there anybody here that's made up your mind that nobody can steal my joy? I know y'all can't relate to this here, because this is called the hooping part of the message. I done my teaching now, so it's time for celebration. I done broke down the word of God, so it's time for some celebration. So let's start over again. Is there anybody here that's made up your mind that can't nobody steal my joy? Can't nobody stop me from coming to church, because the God I serve stopped by my house early this morning and woke me up. So I gotta go to his house and tell him thank you. Have I got a witness here? It's in my heart to serve the Lord, and I want to praise him with everything that I got, because when I think about Jesus and all that he's done for me, when it came time for him to give his life, he could have walked away, but they couldn't steal his heart. They whipped him all night long, but they couldn't steal his heart. Have I got a witness here? They spit on him. They called him names, but they could not take what was in his heart. They led him up Calvary's hill, stretched him wide, hung him high, nailed his hands, nailed his feet, crowned his head, pierced his sides. But that wasn't enough to stop what was in his heart, because when he hung there that Friday morning, I heard him say, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And they tell me that he hung his head in the locks of his shoulders and he died. Don't you know he died? There's somebody here that don't understand this part. Why you gotta sing it? Why they gotta play music? Why you gotta holler? Why you gotta be so loud? If you knew what the cross was about, if you knew how he died for you, if you knew the way he made for you, when you hear about Friday, you'll start getting excited. When you hear about the cross, something on the inside get to working on the outside. When you tell me how they buried him in a borrowed tomb, I don't have to be sad, because I know how it turned out. When you say he stayed there all day Friday, I start getting excited. All day Saturday, I start getting excited. All Saturday night, it's finna be a party up in here, because I know that good God Almighty, I said Sunday morning, he got up. Greg God, he got up out of that grave, said, all power is in my hands. Find you a neighbor, because we gotta get out of here. Over there in overflow, find you a neighbor up in the sanctuary. If you ain't too proud, if you ain't too sedity, if you ain't got nowhere to go, find you a neighbor, grab him by the hands, look at your neighbor and tell him these words. Tell him serving the Lord will pay off after a while. If God be for you, who can be against you? If God be for you, who can stop you? Tell another neighbor, I won't stop, because I can't stop. I don't know how to stop. Tell your neighbor, go get it. Tell your neighbor, go do it. Because if God is on your side, he will take care of you. Well, gotta get out of here now. I don't feel like hooping no more. Y'all done hurt my little feelings, but I wish I had about 1,000 people who could give the Lord praise just for bringing you out. It was hard, but I made it. I had to cry, but I made it. I lost some money, I lost some friends, but I made it. Is there anybody in the house of God that don't mind praising him for bringing you out? What I am, God made me. What I have, God gave me. What I know, God taught me. And where I am, God brought